Hi everyone, Jasper Basson here, founder of Dryk Holdings and the financial director of Lead Optimizers. I'm sitting here with my good friend Andrew Barnes. He's from Mischa Estate in Wellington, and I'm going to ask him to quickly do a proper introduction of himself.
Hi everyone, so I am Andrew Barnes. I am the winemaker for Mischa Estate. We run three businesses off our farm. The one being Mischa Winery, the other being Mischa Nursery. We grow wine and table grape stockies, which are the small little vines that we then sell on to our customers to plant their vineyards with. And then our newest business is a business called NutriFarm, where we support our customers in improving their soil health and their plant health with a long-term goal of reducing their inputs, specifically pesticides and fertilizers, because it's a family passion of ours to try to leave the world a better place than we found it. And specifically in agriculture, a lot of the inputs are a problem in terms of the effect on the environment, and also we found they're actually uneconomic. Trying to assist our customers as far as we can, we found methods to farm more effectively with less inputs, which is a big cost implication, so helping them make more profits and at the same time improving their soil and plant health. So that's kind of my current passion, along with the other businesses. And they're all actually nicely tied together, because if you've got healthy soils, you've got healthy vines, which is good for our vineyards and our nursery, and healthy vines make the best grapes, which make the best wine. So that's what we're doing.
And you, in my opinion, do have the best wine.
Oh, thanks, Jasper. Well, we try. We try really hard.
That's the only reason I'm good friends, because you go do the wine.
That's okay. As long as there's a reason, I'm happy.
So you actually a family business.
Yeah.
And how long have our family been? It's like almost like a legacy. But how long has your family been part of this business and Mischa?
Yeah. So my brother and I, Gary Barnes, are currently the third generation owners of Mischa. The farm was bought by our grandparents. They, interestingly enough, didn't have an agricultural background. My grandmother was quite a famous ballet dancer. She danced with Ballet Russe, and my grandfather worked in the photography department at the Cape Times. And funnily enough, they decided one day they wanted to go farming, and they bought the farm that we still currently on, Mischa. My father took over the farming. My grandparents were mainly fruit farmers, and my father decided we should become a wine nursery. So that was the business he started, and then I came to the farm and went, well, this is cool, but I enjoy drinking, so now how can I combine this? And so I decided to start making wine. So that's kind of been the evolution of our businesses. And then Gary joined the farm a bit after me, and he took over our nursery business, which he currently runs.
So we just moved outside quickly. The weather cleared up a bit, and we can proceed and take it from here. And as you guys know, this whole webinar series is about assisting entrepreneurs with accounting structures, with most importantly habits as well. And I'm gonna ask Andrew. I know he's got various habits, very good habits. I'm going to ask him about the bad habits as well, but for now, let's go to the good habits. I know we share a lot of the same habits. We talk about it a lot, but give me some of your good habits that you at least that you try to do every day.
So, well, thank you, Jasper. I have some good habits, but I started with mostly bad ones. So I have knowledge of both sides, and I'm reminded of Aristotle's quotes. And the quote goes something like, "We are what we repeatedly do, then success is not an action but a habit," which I believe to be true. So wanting to be successful, as all entrepreneurs do, I put a bit of time and effort into finding out what are the correct habits. So the habits that I found that work for me are doing the things that make you successful by routine, which is the definition of a habit. And for me, those are getting up early and working out. What I do every day is I get up at 4:45, then I study for roughly an hour. I'm busy doing a business degree, and then after that I work out for about 45 minutes. And what I find is by the time I get to work, my brain's going, my body's going, everything's at optimum. So I find that fantastic. Getting into that habit, however, I will tell you, because it's it's cool to talk about it and I do these awesome things, but getting into it is hard. But as with most habits, all you got to do is do it. So I remember when I started getting up early, I was like a zombie, and it was like pulling teeth. But now, being a habit, that's the time I wake up. I wake up at that time every weekend, so it's no longer difficult. Working out in the morning also was a terrible thing for me. My body was not was not used to this thing, and it hurt a lot. It felt wrong. There's nothing nice about it. However, even from the first time I did it, I saw the benefit during the day. I was more energetic. My thoughts were clearer, and that's what made me persist with it. Is that I enjoy having a good day. I enjoy having a clear mind. I enjoy being motivated, and it's a very easy way to do it. You put in 45 minutes, half an hour, and that's what you got for the rest of the day. And then you still get to drink a coffee on top of it. So I think it's fantastic. So those are kind of my base habits. Then I've also newly incorporated Wim Hof's breathing technique. I think Jasper's hopefully going to be able to interview the man quite soon. He's got an awesome story, and for me that breathing technique, which I do just before I work out, it almost doesn't make sense in terms of the benefits it brings versus you just been breathing in and out for like 10 minutes, but it's fantastic and it works, so that's why it's one of my habits. Then I try to journal every day. I come to work, I write a journal with whatever may be in whatever's sitting on top of my mind, good, bad. I try to get a bit of balance in it, but I try not to filter it too much. Whatever needs to come out comes out, and then I move on to my day. I make my list for the day, prioritize it, and then the habit I'm still trying to create, which is a very effective one. The few times I got it right, but I struggle to stick to it, is every task you assign a time during the day. And I find, interestingly, the benefit of that is not having the stuff scheduled with a time, it's actually assigning the time. Because even on the days where I've assigned a time where I haven't stuck to it, the day still goes better and I'm more productive. So it would seem like the main point of the exercise is the assigning of the time and thinking about how long everything takes you and measuring yourself against it versus actually sticking to it in a rigid way. But I'm still working on that one. I kind of tick-tock on it. So yeah. You mentioned bad habits.
Let's if I can quickly stop you.
Sure.
I want to just go a few steps back and just deconstruct a few of your ideas.
Yeah.
You mentioned about initially you struggled with the habits, especially waking up in the morning, waking up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Typically, science tells us that it takes about 66 days to get into a habit, to make it at that stage it gets easier for us to do that. How long did it take you to, more or less, that you said it was really a struggle in the beginning? Yeah. How long did it take you to get used to? Well, I know a lot of people struggle. Actually, told me a lot of my clients also tell me, you wake up every morning at 4:30. There's no way. So I'm a night owl. There's no way I can wake up at that early hours. How long did it take you to get used to that? Your body to get used to it?
I'm not quite sure. Luckily, I have a fairly addictive personality, so when I get into something, I kind of stick to it a bit too much. I don't remember it being 66 days. That seems like quite a long time. I would say first 2 weeks were hard, then from there it was easier, and then I would definitely say after a month I was in the groove.
Yeah, sounds to me also myself as well.
Yeah, no, for me the first time was hard, the second time was really hard, and then from there it was kind of a slow progression. The second week was better than the first week, and the third, and then after a month that was the way it worked. For me, interesting thing is, people talk about my night owl or morning person, and I think I may have classified myself as a night owl, but to me there's awake hours and there's sleep hours, and if you look at the research, if you're sleeping less than 8 hours, the cost to you in many different ways is huge. So you got to get your 8 hours, unless you are one of the very few people who doesn't need to, but you're probably not. And then it's just a question of shifting the awake and the sleep time. Whether it's in the morning or at night, I don't think it really makes a difference. You got to sleep for 8 hours, and that piece in between you can move it around. To me, that's the way it seems, because I've been in a get up later, go to bed later cycle, and now I'm in the opposite. And it's all pretty much same. Just the change is difficult. Whereas the problem for me now is, because I'm used to going to bed relatively early to get my 8 hours. If I have people over for dinner and so on who are used to going late, I can't. I just fall asleep at the freaking table. It's very embarrassing. So that's the one downside of all of this stuff. Just by the way,
I'm the same. And also, when you have a late night and you still wake up, I wake up. I'm waiting for my alarm at 4:30, so I'm probably awake at roughly 4:15 every morning.
Yeah.
Lying awake for it, but I like that. But then again, if you have a late night, you will still wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. So you just lose your hours and catching it up.
But it's like you say, it's a kind of a balancing. You can't do both.
Yeah.
And I found that both might be something that's a night owl might be very productive in that time, but he can very much be more productive early morning, because your brain, that's the first thing you need to do. Your brain, first activity in the morning to do something, especially if you do some fitness training. I know, like I said, you do some fitness training. I know you do a lot of, like me as well, heat training.
Yeah.
If you start having a family, having kids, you need to adapt
Get the most out of your time.
A 10 or 20 minute training session is better than an hour and a half training session. You can still do a lot with that.
Yeah.
And then let's just, you talked about Wim Hof. I know you're the person that actually told me about him, and I started researching, and I've started also implementing the morning routine of his breathing exercises. But I've also started using his cold showers in the morning.
Yep.
Even in this nice winter of ours.
It's a bit harder in winter than in summer.
Yeah. But do you also do the cold showers in the winter as well?
Yeah.
I think in the winter for starters, I used warm water and then transitioning to cold water at the end of the shower, and now I'm just walking in and doing the cold showers. But it's amazing the effect that you feel. People think you totally mad.
Well, they may be
crazy,
right,
but I'm sure they're right for both of us. But the effect that you feel, you don't have a choice to be alert. It's good for the Cape Town's water restrictions as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other benefits. You've got little muscles around your veins in your heart that do and it also there's a lot of various benefits of that. Your immune system gets better. So there's a lot of things that works for that. So I know you always talk about your breathing exercises, but it's interesting to know that you also do the cold showers.
Well, in terms of my take on what Wim said, you'll probably get more out of him when you chat to him, is that his hypothesis is that we as humans at the moment, we seek comfort. We have comfortable environment, everything's nice, but that's not what we were built for.
Yes.
We were built for a challenging environment. And so that's why our especially as we age, our bodies get lazy and don't function properly because they're not being used.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to challenge them. We need to challenge them with hot and cold and put them under pressure to keep them at their optimal. And a cold shower is a sneaky way of doing that. You just told your body you're about to freeze to death.
Yes.
But it's not actually going to happen. But you get your body working, and from the bit I've read of his, you stimulate that vagus nerve, and that's what's controlling everything. And if the rhythms of that are off, your rhythm's off, everything's off, and that keeps it all nicely lined up. So, and interestingly for me, once something becomes a habit, because that's a habit, because especially the first few times it doesn't. Taking a cold shower does not feel nice. Whereas, and for me, the thing with when something's a habit is when there's no more decision component. Because if you had to ask me now, would you like to take a cold shower? No, I wouldn't. But I do it every morning because there's no decision.
Yes.
that's what happens in the morning. I just do it. And that's what makes me able to do it, in that I never had to take a decision. So there's no willpower involved; it just happened. And then afterwards I went, wow, that was quite hectic, but it's done, and I'll get on with the rest of my day.
Nice and quick.
Yeah. I do the way I do it. It's because we live on a farm, so the piping's quite long. So I turn on the hot water and then I get in, and I wait for the hot water to come save me, and take some. It's interesting because it's quite variable. So sometimes I'm like, okay, it's gonna, and then oh no, it's not. but it's interesting. The interesting thing is I haven't seen if the length makes so much difference, but it definitely seems that you need to get that initial shock of, it feels like it's going to take the wind out of your chest. That then you've got the magic button pushed.
Obviously, you said you're very active in the sense of you do studies, you train. Obviously, being the owner of one of the two brothers that's really active on the farm itself. I found that my brain as well been very active through the day, and I'm generally struggle to sleep because I'm struggling to settle down. I use various things. One of the things is herbal teas, in the sense of maybe lavender, valerian root. Serves me well for settling down, and I use some other stuff like GABA. That also, I know you've used it as well.
Yeah, well, you put me onto that one. That's
so
don't know if it's good or bad, but it works.
Yeah, well, it reboots your body. It's mostly natural ingredients, but I like my herbal teas. I use honey and apple cider vinegar as well. It seems to work.
That's very healthy.
But yeah, what do you use? Do you use anything to settle down?
Well, I'm quite lucky in that I can sleep anywhere, anytime. And it's something I practice from young, is quietening my mind, which is quite a challenge. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said if you cannot think a thought for a minute, you can control the world, which is a bit of a truism, because if you cannot think a thought for 10 seconds, I think then you've achieved something incredible. So, but the practicing of that is, I'm not quite there, but it helps. I'm pretty good at clearing my mind and relaxing and falling to sleep. So. Luckily for me, the falling asleep is not too difficult. However, that said, before bed I make myself a little cocktail of fiber, calcium, magnesium, boron powder, which almost everybody's deficient in those three. It's not in our, being a farmer, I know, our soils are deficient in that, so our food's deficient, so chances of you being deficient in that, because all you're getting it from is your food, is very good. And specifically with a magnesium shortage, is the less magnesium you have, the harder it is for you to absorb it. So it's kind of a bit of a self-perpetuating problem. And then on top of it, boron. If you haven't got boron, your calcium magnesium absorption is not going to work properly anyway, so you got to get those in. The fiber, which I mentioned, the reason for that is we all know about probiotics. Most of us are aware of the importance of the right microbiome in our gut. And the reason for the fiber is that is the best food for the good guys. So we all eat sugar and white carbs and all the bad stuff that we know about, which feeds candida and all the things we don't want. So that's kind of my attempt to try and balance the scales, whereas fiber is the best food source for all the good guys, and there's no nutritional value for the bad guys. So I put that in there, and I find that helps me sleep really well. Then on top of that, I put in some GABA. Which I mentioned I don't have trouble going to sleep, but that just knocks me that knocks me out. The interesting thing, which you didn't mention to me, but I get it, and I don't know if it's a general thing, is taking GABA, my dreams become incredibly visual. It's like I go from a little cell phone screen to like a 4K, where the contrast turn all the way up. So that's the one interesting thing. And having read a bit about it, GABA is the primary fuel source for your visual cortex. So it kind of makes sense. You're putting a lot of fuel in there, and your visual cortex is going to work. And I'm taking it when I'm sleeping, so it makes sense. So that's kind of the cocktail I take at night. What I do, you mentioned apple cider vinegar. We actually make our own kombucha at home, which is very similar. It's essentially it's very fashionable at the moment apparently.
Yes.
So it's a probiotic prebiotic drinks. I have that after dinner, which I find it's nice for the digestion, and I actually like the taste. I don't know if that makes me crazy or not. But, so
That's right.
That's my routine.
Like I said, this is.
Oh, sorry. One important thing that I don't do, that my dear wife Rachel, may she forgive me for saying this, that doesn't work, is looking at screens and things.
Yes.
When I come into bedroom, the light must be low, and then I go to bed. Whereas Rachel's got the habit of reading on her phone before she goes to sleep, and she struggles a lot with her sleep. So I would, in terms of habits, I would definitely encourage people, put a timeline on that one, and then stop, and then and also having a bedtime routine I think helps. I do the same I have the same routine every night, which tells your body, okay, now we're going to go to sleep, and then it's easy. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No worries. And like I said, this whole webinar series is for entrepreneurs, but also for employees that want to make the jump to being an entrepreneur, which is a crazy jump.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world from one structured place to a crazy place.
Well, the one that you create.
And the one that you create as well. We all have bad habits. But being an entrepreneur, there's certain habits that you're trying to eliminate as far as possible. Yeah. Something that's very interesting for me about you is that you are very limited on stuff like social media, which is a very bad habit for, I think, anybody. Yeah. But to be very productive and to like you said earlier as well, try to have your certain slots in the day of doing certain things as far as possible. Yeah. I think social media might be one of them. I'm trying to go on a social media fast every now and again, trying to the week at least be almost non-existent on there. Kind of I'm a bit more active there, but generally I'm trying to be on a social media fast. Any advice to entrepreneurs for a habit that they really need to stop today?
Well, social media is a challenge. I'm very lucky in that for me to be active on social media is not essential for me in terms of my business success, and I'm very fortunate for that, because that's not true for many businesses, and I think going forward it's going to be even less true. And I actually feel for the younger generation in that you have to have a certain social profile, and it's not really going to be optional, which is going to be difficult. So the one thing that I would encourage people, I don't know if it's a bad habit, for me social media, it's very much a double-edged sword. It gives you the ability to connect with many people on a very shallow level. It's very short term, and it gives you a little bit of dopamine, and that's where we're checking and we're seeing. But the problem is it's not substantive. It's 10 seconds of happiness, but then it's done, and then you got to do it again. And the challenge is, being something that drives dopamine, as all addictions, one needs to be aware of that. Am I doing it because there's a reason, or am I habituating something that can be addictive? Yes. And also, what part of my life am I putting there? If I, if I post a new clip or something, and I get more dislikes than likes, is this affecting me deeply? Yes. And should it? These are all very difficult questions, because I would like to be able to say it's not important, don't have it part of your life, which I do, which I'm fortunate for. But it's not the paradigm going forward. Yes. And being the father of 3 girls, it's something I actually spend quite a bit of time thinking about, which I don't have many answers on. Is what is the correct place for social media, in my children's life, and as a parent, how do I introduce it? I think we can all see the challenges and problems with social media, but it's not going away. So what's the correct place? And I think the challenge is, as a society, we haven't answered this. This is actually new to humanity. Yes. Humanity's had a lot of history and a lot of things we've done right and wrong we can learn from, but not this one.
This one is, like you said, we're all still trying to figure it out, and we're all trying something to at least limit it.
So for me, the as with all things in life, if I remember the wise words of my grandparents, all things in moderation, which is good advice all the time. Anything too much is too much,
Yes.
and I think social media can often and easily go into that category. And I think the main thing to remember with social media, it's a great business tool. It's a nice social tool, but it's very shallow.
There's no connection really.
There's a shallow connection,
Yeah, but not a real personal connection. Yeah.
Exactly, and the thing is, if you want to be a happy human being, you can't do it on a superficial level, because deep happiness is just that, which it requires a deep connection. And as much as we may want to be digital and all of these things, we are still very physical, practical beings. So sitting in front of somebody, looking them in the eye, that's a real proper connection, and we need to weight things accordingly. I've seen much to my sadness, a scenario a few times in a restaurant where the whole family's sitting around the table and everybody's on their phones, and they're actually not even they're actually going to they're going to WhatsApp each other around the. But I can't look up and go, hey Jasper, what do you want? I'll just Jasper, what do you want? And you'll the pizza, and when the waiter comes, the one person will, which actually that's how I knew they were WhatsApping each other, because everybody's on their phones and the waiter comes and one person orders, and they all get food. I was like, how are they telepathic? How's this? And then I realized that everybody, they're having a conversation via WhatsApp at the restaurant with each other rather than looking at each other. And this was a family, and to me it was a truly shocking moment. And in terms of, I spoke about parenting. I went, okay, we're not going to do that one. So we've actually in our home we've got a rule: no phones at the table and somewhere else. So it doesn't matter if it rings, if the world's burning down. That is our time together, and we will speak to each other, and we will talk about how our day went. If you do the research as a family, eating meals together gets awesome outcomes for the children,
yes.
Regardless of everything else. It's probably,
Yes.
if you're going to do one thing for your kids, just have meals with them, which is, I think, that's something we can all do, and the research supports that very much. So in terms of social media, just to sum it up from my side, I think the important thing is to understand it, put it in a box, and attribute a certain value to it, and don't let it just happen, because the default tends to be more and more and more, because it's got a little dopamine aspect to it where I'm getting a little payoff, and people can get drawn into that, and you need to resist it. We know that we need to resist the desire to drink alcohol the whole time. There's a time and a place for it, and we know it can become a problem.
Yes.
And to me, we've got to understand social media almost in the same way. It doesn't have to be a problem. Just as you can drink, and it can actually, your 2 glasses or a glass of wine a day can be beneficial to your health. A bottle a day is not. So it's not the what, it's the how, and I think social media is exactly that.
I think some time ago we talked about the same issue about the addiction of social media.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about the scale that's almost the same as cocaine or a drug.
Yeah, I can't quite remember exactly what that was, but what I do know, I've been talking about dopamine. If you look at all addictions, they're dopamine triggers. That's our reward system. We are built to want dopamine, and certain things give us more dopamine. Cocaine's a great example. There's a lot right there. That's why everybody loves it so much. And that's a challenge with social media. You get a little bit, but you can get a little bit all the time.
Yeah.
So you can keep it coming, and that's part of all of this, rituals and habits and stuff is you need to take control of your reward centers. You need to, instead of letting it just be a default, I got a thumbs up, I'm feeling good. You need to insert a barrier in terms of, this is my value system, and these are the things I feel good about, and these are the things that aren't important. And social media has to fall into that. As soon as you are putting something virtual in front of someone, in front of you, we're already way off the rails, and I think that happens a lot. I'm also guilty of it. I don't take part in social media, but I enjoy reading on my phone. And I may often be reading on my phone rather than interacting with my kids.
Yes.
So for me, the ease and the ubiquity of a mobile device and everything that's on it,
it's an awesome tool, but like any tool, it's not the tool, it's how you use it. And I think we need to all be cognizant of, because it's so comfortable, it's dangerous. Because it's so easy, it's dangerous. And and I think in terms of modern society, it's not part of our culture to struggle for the things that we want. We want it quick and we want it easy and we want it now, which is understandable. Why not? But if you look at the things that make a successful, happy human being, it's put in effort and be able to wait for the reward. That cycle is a very healthy, positive cycle. And even if you could do it faster, it's not a benefit. Getting things quick and easy is not a benefit. I like to say that the value of anything is equal to the amount of effort you put into getting it, which I'm sure we've all seen examples in our life where somebody who's struggled to attain something that we may not think is so awesome, they see lots of value in that, and on the flip side, you see somebody else who's got a lot quickly, easily, and you can see they put no value in it because of that effort. And so one has to be aware of these things and incorporate in your life in a positive way.
So, like I said, obviously don't have a lot of social media apps on your phone, most probably.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, is there any apps that you use that really that do make your life better? I agree that technology don't have to take over our business. I still use a proper old school diary.
Yeah.
But is there any apps that you use in your business that make your life easier?
Weather apps on my phone. Being a farmer, that's very important. To know what the weather's going to be. In terms of apps, nothing special. Just the general. Excel's an amazing thing, but I can't say I've got any incredible tips for anybody. It's just simplicity. I think if I've got one tip, less is best. So what rather than going what apps, what are the apps I can get rid of?
Yes.
Focus everything now. What's the least I can get away with?
Yeah.
And that'll help, because on a slight tangent, the tyranny of choice is kind of what we all struggle with, where we've got such a array of everything available to us. Apps on the App Store, 1 million. If you want to, as you know, I've got a deep interest in Stoicism. So I was looking for app where I can read some. But I think there's like 300 apps on Stoicism. That's quite a niche little area. So it's crazy. And in terms of clothing and everything, we have so many choices. It wears your brain out having to choose the whole time. Steve Jobs, as you may recall, he used to wear the same thing every day on this exact subject, so he didn't have to decide what to wear. He wore his jeans and his black turtleneck and went down. Yeah, because it was which he knew, which has been said many times, you can only make so many decisions a day. So he said, I'm going to keep them for my business. So that's his advice would be my advice. Not that I follow it particularly well, but it's good advice.
We just moved a bit, and to show you at least the dam is half full. Let's
Halfway
be positive.
Yeah. Well, we're
It's
halfway
full.
through winter's half full, so
Half full.
the trends are good.
Awesome. Just quickly, I know you're also a big reader like me, but I know there's a few that newsletters and books that you would really. I'm looking forward to just sharing us with some of the books, and especially for entrepreneurs, and also maybe a newsletter or two that you really enjoy.
In terms of newsletters, I actually only sign up to 2 because I don't get as much time to read as I'd like, and I like, if I sign up to something, I want to read it, and not staying ahead is just another pressure, and also I try and keep that in a manageable space. So the 2 newsletters that I sign up for, or have signed up for, are Barking Up the Wrong Tree by Eric Barker, who has a book by the same name, which is probably, in terms of advice for entrepreneurs or self-development, I think it's the best book I've read thus far. On a broad scale, there's better books on specific subjects, but in terms of holistically, and also in the way that the message is communicated. That's at this point in time, that is the best book. Barking Up the Wrong Tree by Eric Barker. Then newsletters, there's another one called Brain Pickings. I forget who the author is, and it's a bit more of an out there. It's not a business newsletter. It's a literary one, but it's kind of broad. It's the lady who writes it just, she finds, awesome letters, or kind of esoteric, or not esoteric, abstract stuff that one wouldn't be aware of or thought of long forgot author, and kind of tells you about it. And especially with historical authors, I'm not half as well read as I'd like to be. So for me, that's nice. It gives me a little bit of background on some people you may have heard of, but here's a different aspect to them, or a nice summary on their work. So I enjoy those two. Then in terms of business books, I mentioned Barking Up the Wrong Tree. Tools of Titans by, what's his name?
Tim Ferriss.
There we go. Tim Ferriss is a cool book. I like the interview format of it, where it's different guys and their different views. He probably promotes drug use a little bit strongly in there, but hey, what the hell? Everyone to do what they want to do. And then a book that's on my desk, I also can't remember the author. It's from Good to Great. So that's on my to-do list. Those are my books at the moment.
Andrew, thank you very much for your time. Always great chatting to you. And look forward to, we just discussed, we're going to do an adventure video soon as well. And if there's any questions regarding what we've talked about today, please send me the comments, and we actually want to deconstruct some of the ideas in a nice adventure video going forward.
Awesome.
So it's a date.
Cool. Guys, I hope there was something interesting in that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for watching, and if you did find value from this video, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also remember to share this video with a fellow entrepreneur friend.